Hey, we're Saints. Father Chris here. Welcome to our Crucifixional Life stream. Glad to have you beautiful people with us. What if you own property that went on fire? Or in English, caught on fire. Let's just say, just thinking theoretically. And during the process of cleaning up, you had to bring in a professional company, a mitigation company, who would, clean and do demolition, get everything, ready for a rebuild. And in this process, you don't really know a lot of what's going on. And then all of a sudden, the demo company says things that seem a little suspect, but you don't know it because you trust them, you like them, they've done work for you before, and you think they're good. And then all of a sudden, you start to get uncomfortable with the things that they're saying, and you realize it doesn't all quite add up. You're not really sure, because it's certainly not your area of expertise, so you're uncomfortable. And you're confronted with, do I just submit and do what they asked me to do and do things the way they asked me to do? Or do I do a little bit of research, a little bit of due diligence, homework, if you will, to find out what really is the right thing to do? In this kind of a scenario, this is, totally a hypothetical situation, we have to come to the realization that just because somebody says something doesn't mean that it's true. As we were going through and prepping for this, Greg says to me something really funny. He's like, because apparently, I didn't know this, but apparently there's an egg shortage. People are having a hard time getting eggs. That's the thing. So he went to the grocery store and the eggs were $8.99 a dozen. And it said on the little sticker, low price. And he said to himself, he's like, just because you said low price doesn't mean it's a low price. That's a ridiculous price for eggs, right? So just because something is said doesn't mean that it's the case. It is the way that it is. And so what does that mean? That means you better do your homework. You better do your due diligence. Maybe you get a bid for eggs. Maybe you find them for $7.99.
Get out the job. Give me your eggs.
The idea I'm saying is do we just, you can't bid eggs. I don't know. Maybe you just don't eat eggs for a while until they get it fixed. All of it to say, my point is this. Look, you got to think. You can't just take what was given. You can't just absorb all of the data, the information that's thrown at us. That requires that a mind is initially transformed. And here we go, Romans chapter 12, verse 2. Be transformed by the renewal of your mind. And I think ultimately what Paul is saying, which my little intro of eggs and fire doesn't necessarily lead to in a smooth sense, but in real sense, it tells us, bro, we got to think different. You cannot think like the world. You have to have your mind focused differently. The world is telling you, I think, falsehood, right? The ideas of what's true, the ideas of what's good, of what's healthy, what's happy, and that the world is pushing is really quite the opposite. It leads to chaos and misery. A mindset, however, that is Christocentric, right? Christ-centered. What we say as warrior saints, crucifixional, where I'm looking to put my will aside to make room for God's so that I might follow Christ through death into the empty tomb. The crucifixional mindset, that's the one that we're after. You got to think different. You want to be normal? You want to be like everyone else in the world? I don't. Come on, man. We want to be different than the world. We've been called to be, in some real sense, in it, but not of it, right? I'm sure you've heard that saying before. We must think differently. In order to do that, you have to take everything in the world and, in some sense, turn it upside down. And that's exactly what we do at the Warrior Saints movement. As I said those words, that sounds so funny. We take everything and turn it upside down. But you know what? In some sense, we do. We're asking questions to $8.99 a dozen for eggs. We're asking questions to fire restoration companies. We're asking questions to the morality that the world puts out there. We're asking questions about the way we behave in our own lives and the choices and the decisions we make. But in that questioning, if we put the filter of Christ, the cross, in front of our eyes, things are different. That mind is renewed. We want you to join us. It's pretty hard, but totally simple. Number one, I want you to visit warriorsaints.org. Click this address or type it in your browser as soon as this is done, whatever it takes. Look at the academy. There's some classes there. They're all being reworked. They're all being updated. It's going to be awesome. Pick one. Just once you go to warriorsaints.org, step 2 is choose one of those courses that you subscribe to. Number 3, and this is the really simple part, click play. Let the video run. Let the teaching of the gospel put new thoughts in your mind. When you do this, you got a shot, brothers and sisters, to become a warrior saint. And when you do that, everything becomes a little bit renewed. Great stuff. See you tomorrow. As always, keep walking on the way of the warrior saint.